And that has been a tremendous benefit for the ordinary poor people of Antigua and Barbuda. Another thing that we did in terms of tax reform in our period of 2004 to 2009 is that I remember when I was a lawyer, you used to have persons who wanted to transfer land from father to son or mother to daughter to one of the children, and they had to pay the full 10% of the value of the land. It was a terrible hardship on people. This administration removed that so that you no longer do that. So you have so many people who want to pass on property to their children, and they pay 1% instead of 10%. That's what this government has done. These are the things this government has done. So, Madam Speaker, we are seeing with this task force, they've been given a broad mandate. It's a non-political task force. It's chaired by Mr. Neil Coates, but you have Ms. Cassandra Simon there, you have Mr. Wilbur Harrigan there, you have Mr. Avondale Thomas, you have Mr. Cleveland Seaforth, you have Ms. Kathy David. All of these are accountants, mainly focusing on tax. Besides that, we have representatives from all the major bodies in Antigua and Barbuda, organizations. We've invited Chamber of Commerce, Employers Federation, TUC, as well as the Yachting Association, the Hotel Association, everybody's there. And we're saying everything is on the table. September next year, let's see what you have to say. This government is a government that listens, and we will implement based on the recommendations that are put forward. Now, whilst this work is ongoing, Madam Speaker, the government continues to consider proposals that will boost economic activity. One proposal has come from the Antigua and Barbuda Employers Federation called a Private Sector Stimulus Package. Some of the actions that they have proposed will be referred to the Tax Review Task Force. For example, they believe that income tax should be abolished. Well, maybe. But then that's $59 million that we're expecting to get from that. And if we can tell the country and the public servants how we're going to meet their wages when it's already difficult with the revenues that we're getting, and you're going to say, take out the 59 that we're expecting to get, that is not the approach that this government will take. You cannot play worry with people's lives. Now, one of the suggestions is to develop a program that will stimulate activity for local merchants. This program, which has been suggested, would see a duty-free period where local businesses would be able to import merchandise free of duty for sale to the public. Now, the government intends to work with representatives of the Employers Federation to finalize the details of a feasible program in this regard. We know some merchants have already adopted their own Black Friday type events, and from all accounts, some of these have been very successful. But it is our intention to work with the merchant community to see how we can stimulate more activities of this nature. I want to look now, Madam Speaker, at small business development, which is being piloted by the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority. And in saying that, let me recognize the hard work of the chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority, Dr. McChesney Manuel, who was seconded from the New York Consular Office to Antigua and Barbuda, and he now chairs the Investment Authority, and we are seeing, I respectfully say, a new lease on life in respect of the activities that are taking place. So we're very happy for the interventions that he is able to make. Now, in 2012, the ABIA provided support to a number of businesses that allowed them to access financial assistance through the Caribbean Export Development Agency's Direct Access Grant Scheme. In fact, businesses in Antigua, through the instrumentality of Permanent Secretary Murdoch, who has been working in this area, they've been able to access $460,000 in grants from this enterprise, which is funded by CEDA. Now, with the assistance of the Commonwealth Secretariat, the Investment Authority was able to finalize a business plan for a business incubation unit, which is called the Business Factory. This is something we've been trying to develop, but we've had serious funding challenges. We now have funding available to us through the Commonwealth Secretariat. With this business factory, we will be making available from the government to kickstart this $250,000. This money will be paid over to the Investment Authority, specifically to allow the business factory to start to function. It is anticipated initially that we will have 5 small businesses that will be able to benefit from the first phase of this initiative. Again, assisting small businesses. The business factory will provide participating businesses with operating and manufacturing facilities, specialized equipment and business support services, and will help these businesses take advantage of regional and international export opportunities. Another area of focus for the ABIA is to develop a thriving outsourcing and offshoring industry in Antigua and Barbuda. Outsource Antigua will offer a wide range of technology-driven and cost-effective services, which include call center services, data entry services, engineering services, financial services, creative services, mobile app development, web analytics services, healthcare services, photo editing services, software development, research and analytical services, among others. Antigua and Barbuda's outsourcing industry will create, we expect, 500 good-paying jobs in the first year, and this should increase to 1,200 jobs by the end of the 3rd year. The government will also allocate $250,000 for the ABIA to launch this program in 2013. We also have the Credit Guarantee Scheme. And under this Credit Guarantee Scheme, the government, through the Antigua and Barbuda Development Bank, will cover or guarantee up to 80% of the amount sought by businesses. We're very happy that a number of financial institutions have come on board and have formally agreed to participate in the Credit Guarantee Scheme. And I want to applaud the Antigua Commercial Bank, the Caribbean Union Bank, and the Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank for their foresight and for their support. When we go now, Madam Speaker, to manufacturing, we've worked with representatives from the manufacturing sector to agree on a suitable mechanism that will afford local manufacturers cash flow relief on the importation of raw materials and inputs. This mechanism will allow registered manufacturers to defer the payment of the ABST on the raw materials and supplies used in producing their finished products. And so the payment will be at the point of sale. Now, this arrangement with the manufacturers, we expect, will begin in the first quarter of 2013. In fact, one of the statutory instruments that I laid on the table today is actually the statutory instrument that will give legal effect to this. Another point that the business community has been referring to is the question of tariff rates for electricity. We have engaged APOA on this. I know the general manager of APOA is here sitting, and he knows that we're very serious in seeking to have the rates adjusted so that we can have a more competitive environment for manufacturers and people doing business in Antigua and Barbuda. And we have set up a small committee, including the APUA, the Employers Federation, who have brought this matter forcefully to our attention, and the government, so that we can really begin to look at creating a modern tariff structure that we believe will be more competitive. I want to just look, Madam Speaker, at the question of tourism, which has also been one area that has seen us achieve the growth that is above the sub-regional average. Arrivals from North America increased, with the U.S. market growing by more than 12% and the Canadian market by 1%. The improvement in arrivals reflects some recovery in economic conditions in and increased airlift from those countries. On the other hand, the intra-Caribbean market decreased by 6.7% as the region continues to deal with its own economic challenges. Finally, arrivals from South America and Central America increased by 4.8% and 7.2%, respectively. The Ministry of Tourism has commissioned a National Sustainable Tourism Development Plan which is expected to significantly improve the ability not only of our product to perform, but also a blueprint for persons who wish to invest in Antigua and Barbuda. But the minister, I'm sure, when it comes the time for the debate, will speak to that. One of the incentives that is being contemplated at this time is an incentive to local businesses to participate in this whole question of boosting visitor or enhancing visitor satisfaction here in Antigua and Barbuda by encouraging the development of strategic, cultural, natural, and man-made sites. What we are hoping is that we'll give an incentive to local businesses who participate in this process by offering them tax credits to those who contribute to maintaining and to preserving the natural and man-made historical sites here in Antigua and Barbuda, like Betty's Hope, Fort James, etc., to stimulate action and work in that area to augment those areas where our revenue base at the moment may be insufficient to carry some of those things, partner with the private sector by giving incentives in terms of tax credits so that they can be incentivized to come on board. Now, in the yachting sector, our yachting figures for 2011 and 2012 increased by over 75% compared to the 2010-2011 season. This achievement speaks to the marked improvement in the processing arrangement for the yachties, which were made by the government, particularly through customs, immigration, and the port, and the aggressive and innovative approaches being employed by the Ministry of Tourism under the able leadership of the member for St. John's Rural North, and of course with the tourism partners to attract more yachts. All of this has further catapulted Destination Antigua and Barbuda into the vanguard of the regional regatta circuit and made areas like English Harbour, Falmouth, Cobb's Cross, and Jolly Harbour critical enclaves for economic activity with direct positive impacts on the national economy. This, Madam Speaker, is the kind of credibility that brand Antigua and Barbuda and Destination Antigua and Barbuda have in the international yachting community. So what previously was a small sector has now become a large, vibrant sector. Yes. The recently held boat show is a clear indication that yachting as a subset in the tourism industry is a major component and money earner. A very exciting addition to Antigua's yachting calendar is a new sailing event, the Christmas Caribbean Rally for 2013. Close to 100 yachts left the Canary Islands on December 16th and will sail the 2,850 miles, and they're expected to arrive in Jolly Harbour early in the new year. The rally also coincides with school and college holidays. It will attract families, and it will be a way of helping persons to enjoy Antigua and Barbuda during the Christmas and New Year period. With regard to agriculture as another major stimulant, our Antigua black pineapple, the Sea Island cotton, and the seafood industry are best poised to generate foreign exchange for Antigua and Barbuda. With respect to pineapples, member for St. Mary's South will tell us, we shipped 5,000 pounds of pineapples to Norway, and about 10,000 pounds were supplied to the local market. There are 120 acres of pineapples under production for harvest in 2013, and this should allow us to reap at least 20,000 pounds of pineapples in 2013. At the same time, Madam Speaker, cotton production remains vital and can generate much-needed foreign exchange. Antigua and Barbuda's trade agreement with the cooperative West Indian Sea Island Cotton Japan project provides significant opportunities. Under this arrangement, we have the option of supplying at least 20,000 pounds of Sea Island cotton to the Japanese market at a price of $10 per pound. In 2012, 25,000 pounds of cotton were harvested. The output is well above the yield for export over the past 2 decades. Yes. This was aided by the acquisition of a new gin to improve cotton lint extraction. We expect cotton yields and export in 2013 and beyond to be even greater. In 2012, we exported 4,000 kilograms of seafood to the European Union. This was augmented by the operations of the new fisheries complex in Barbuda. Exports in seafood to the EU are expected to rise by at least 10% in 2013. Another important development in the agricultural sector is the investment we are proposing to make in collaboration with an investment partner from overseas in poultry farming. We're finalizing negotiations with Siboney Poultry Farm, a US $75 million production plant. Since this farm will produce poultry for export, it will bring benefits of job creation and generate foreign exchange. The focus on export will ensure that the market for local poultry operators is not depleted. Madam Speaker, those with foresight see. Those without foresight sneer. No. If I may say, Madam Speaker, today Antigua and Barbuda spends approximately 30 million EC dollars importing chicken. In fact, the Antiguans eat more chicken than anybody else. US per capita. They say we eat more chicken per capita. I don't know if maybe it's part of the bird syndrome. Anyway. Yeah. So, anyway. But Madam Speaker, I want to point out here, Madam Speaker, that $30 million US is being spent every year on chicken. Now, what we must do as a government, any government, is to see how we can substitute that with local production. That's money that will be saved. Instead of sending that money overseas and creating jobs for people overseas, that will create jobs in Antigua. That money will circulate here. That will give us so many people jobs. It's not only the direct employment, but the spin-off in terms of employment that will come as a result of this. So, Madam Speaker, the foresight and the vision that is required is for us to ensure that we make this project happen. Like with everything else, there'll be challenges. The question will be, are we up to overcoming those challenges? Are we up to fixing the difficulties that may arise from time to time? But I have full confidence that we will be able to see this project come to life and to bear fruit. Save $30 million US that is currently going out of the country, and we'll be able to export to other islands in the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, this is the type of development that we need in this country, and this project will be pursued. I have been in this business long enough to know that if 10 people come with projects, I am going to try to facilitate all 10. As it has happened, sometimes 4 may come true, 6 may come true, but those who have been in government and who have held a full ministry, I'm sure they will know what I'm talking about. That you try to make sure that you do the best you can, but it doesn't mean that everything that you see will necessarily bear fruit. But as far as this one is concerned, I'm confident that this one will bear fruit, and it's good. Somebody's asking about goat meat, Madam Speaker. I'm not in a position to address the issue of goat meat at this time. Now, in terms of promoting investments, since the global economic crisis, there's been a significant decline. There's been a significant decline in the number and value of foreign direct investment projects and local investments. However, 2012 has so far demonstrated signs of improved interest by local and foreign investors in Antigua and Barbuda. Between January and December 2011, the value of approved investment projects amounted to $227.2 million. 39.6 million represented investments by local businesses, whereas 187.6 million represented foreign direct investment. For the same period in 2012, total investment projects approved by the ABIA nearly tripled to $771.7 million. Investments by local businesses accounted for $85.9 million, while foreign direct investment made up the remaining $685.8 million. As a result of this administration's policies, local businesses have greater access to concessions and incentives, which came as a result of the Investment Authority Act, where there's a level playing field. And whether it's a local investor, foreign investor, there's minimal input from the cabinet. And once the criteria are met, then certain things will flow naturally from that. And so, what we are seeing, Madam Speaker, local investments more than doubled and foreign investments almost quadrupled over the period, pointing to increased confidence by local businesses and some loosening in global capital markets. By the end of December, approved investment projects will eclipse $800 million in 2012. This compares with $327.8 million for 2011. This, Madam Speaker, shows that the needle is moving in the right direction. Now, the citizenship by investment process. The citizenship by investment permanent residency program, it's not a new concept, nor is it an option that is pursued only by small countries. In fact, there are many developing countries that have programs of one type or another. Many developed countries, that's what I meant to say. In Canada, they have an active residency program. Singapore has a very active residency program. In Austria, in Belgium, also in Britain itself, there are programs which place you on a fast track, not only for residency, but also for citizenship. The Citizenship by Investment program is an alternative that affords us the opportunity to strengthen our tourism sector and improve our competitiveness through the real estate investment component of the program. It also opens new avenues for attracting private investment through the business investment option. The Citizenship by Investment program will allow Antigua and Barbuda to leverage investor contributions to the National Development Fund to implement projects and programs that will help to induce economic growth. Antigua and Barbuda, obviously, will be entering new territory, but it is not uncharted terrain. Our neighbors and some of the largest and most advanced countries in the world, they have taken this path before. With the expertise of strong due diligence providers, we will be able to launch and operate a lucrative and credible citizenship by investment program. One of the reasons why the citizenship by investment program is so important is that when you look at your revenue sources, some countries like Antigua and Barbuda, we do not get international development assistance. Antigua doesn't get, St. Kitts doesn't get, Barbados doesn't get, the Bahamas, they do not get. That's because the per capita income of these countries is deemed to be too high to merit any form of international development assistance. All of the Windward Islands, they qualify for international development assistance. It means, therefore, that in terms of the revenues that we need to run the country, nobody's coming to offer you these things because you say to them, you're poor, or you're small, or you're a black country. We are classified as a middle-income country in the global environment. And the aid is going to a lot of the African countries, and insofar as the Caribbean is concerned, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Vincent, Grenada, all of these countries qualify for IDA, International Development Assistance. Now, why something like the Citizenship by Investment program is so important is that it takes some of the pressure off of the tax revenues. Because as it stands now, there are not a lot of areas where you have non-tax revenue. Most of our revenues, obviously, are tax revenues. But if we can pull in, as we hope to pull in for 2013, even if we don't make it, at least that's the target. If we can pull in 32 million EC dollars in this program, that's $32 million less that we need to raise in terms of tax revenue. That's why it's so important. And that's why we believe it's in the best interest of this country, once it is done properly. This thing that countries like Canada and the European countries are going to turn us off, that's not so. We have seen other countries in the Eastern Caribbean, like St. Kitts, who have had this program since 1984, and they still have visa-free access to all of Europe under the Schengen Agreement and to Canada. And we believe that we can do no less.